Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Ask the Night Live. Looks like we're having a little bit of a weird techie thing. If okay, are we good?
Yes.
Effin,
I'm good. I'm
Sounds
good. I can hear you.
There we are. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ask the Night Live. I will be your host today, Edward Littlejohn, and today we have two wonderful and exciting people. I think we got everything. Good to go. Without further ado, actually, let's go ahead and jump right into it because we are actually running a little late. So let's start with the shiny hat person just above me, Your Grace, I believe.
Hi.
Go ahead and your name, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about you.
I am Duke William Fitzhugh de Cambria, but most of my friends and people who have known me for any amount of time just know me as Camric or Cam. I hail from Glenaubin, originally from the great kingdom of Meridies, where I started as a pup. I've had the privilege of being Prince of the Principality of Glenaubin twice and Crown of Glenaubin 3 times now. That's about it.
Says Cameron.
Hi, I'm Sir Brealthen de Reims, Baroness of the Court of Wolfstan and Thorcatla, Meridies. I'm a Knight of Trimaris. I've been in the society 36 years now. I started in the Outlands, and then I went over to Drakenwald and played for a while, and then so yeah, that's kind of how I got started. I started over in really Drakenwald. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
Woo Trimaris, though. I'm originally from Trimaris, if you guys don't know. Alrighty, well, we'll go ahead and start with Sir Brealthen. How did you get started in the SCA?
I was actually a student of Kendo, and there was a lot of weight classes and very little environment to actually compete in. So I started kind of looking outside of that. And when I found the society, I was in the Outlands and went to a fighter practice, and I fell in love with it. So I kind of took that to Drakenwald with me, and that was that. That was over.
Did any Kendo translate to the SCA?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Bastard Sword's very familiar. Footwork can be adapted and utilized. So
I was always curious about that because I used to love Kendo when I was a tiny little nerd.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think I still have my Kendo stick on the wall. It's definitely, I still like to compete if I can find a school, but they're so difficult to find. So
that's true. Alrighty, Your Grace, your turn. How did you get started?
I got started through my wonderful nerdy friends from grade school who we used to play D&D with. I got a call one afternoon. I was probably a freshman in high school, and a buddy was at a local Renaissance festival. He said, "Look, there's guys over here beating the crap out of each other with armor. It's everything you've been looking for. You got to come over here and see this." So I went over, showed up, and absolutely fell in love. Little did I realize that there were some very, let's just say, people who have been around the SCA for a long time that you've probably known. Particular gentleman, Caradoc of the Bow, who just happened to be in what was Meridies at the time, New Orleans area. And I didn't realize who he was until years later, but fell in love with that. Was taken with a friend of mine who lived locally to my first event when I was underage, not 18. And it was the first event that Kane Duke Redfeather won his first crown list. I'll always remember that. And I've been in love with it ever since. And that was 1984, 1985. And I've been doing it since then.
Oh my gosh, that was before I was born. Okay, so I guess let's go ahead and just jump right into it. What do you look for in a squire?
Oh, me. Okay. Hot seat.
Yeah,
All right.
it's all you.
Honestly, man, I'm nobody's knight. I'm a pain in the ass. I am a taskmaster. I am difficult to live up to my expectations. I barely do. I never thought I would have a squire knighted. I have been very fortunate enough now to have two who've actually earned the accolade. I've had two that were students that I parted ways with, and I have a fifth now who I have great high hopes for. But man, it's a difficult thing. It's just, you know it when you see it kind of thing. But I go through my entire SCA career going, I'll never find anybody that will want to put up with me. So, at least I go into it with my eyes open. And I've been very fortunate to have 5 students now that have been just spectacular people that I think the greatest of.
That's fair. At least you're willing to admit to it.
Oh. The first thing is to admit you have the problem.
Jay Hoffman says, are you taking applications?
Oh, yeah, plenty of applications.
So what do I look for in a squire?
What do you look for in a squire?
First and foremost, love for the society. That helps.
Absolutely.
Because love for the society, you're going to want to go to events, you're going to want to put your armor on, and it's infectious. So that's the first thing I look for. Do they have that love, that drive for the society? Second thing is and very, very important to me, it's the relationship with me. I look at my squires as my family, and that's a lifelong thing. My knights were very much still my family and still very much my knight, so I was a squire for 34 years. I've got some insight into that. I've served a couple of different knights in a couple of different kingdoms, and the relationship has to be right. You got to love your knight, and you got to love your squire, right? And I think that's just really important that you have that relationship. I don't necessarily have these unreachable expectations for my squires, but I like to see them set reachable and obtainable goals to their skill set at the time. But mostly what I look for is just that passion and that relationship with me and the rest of the household, and that blending.
All right. So what do you wish you had known as a squire that you now know as a knight?
Gosh, that's a tough question. There was actually like a pre-read. I think that question flashed up earlier, and I've really been kind of thinking about it ever since. But
come on,
I know, right? What do I wish I knew as a squire that I know as a knight? That maybe those night meetings aren't as exciting as every squire thinks they are. No, I'm kidding. Night meetings are pretty cool. Sitting there with your brothers and sisters, it's a pretty cool thing. And it's a really tough question for me. I don't really think I have an answer for that one. Yeah.
I suppose everything.
Yeah. Well, yeah. How to paint a white belt? I don't know. I'm kidding. Really, I've never really. I don't really have an answer for that. I think my path has been pretty long, so I've had so many different experiences that. I enjoy knighthood very much. So there's a lot of differences, but a lot of similarities too. So I'm gonna kind of pass on that one, maybe.
Okay, that's fine. Perfectly fine. Get after it, Your Grace.
Expect to be disappointed.
Expect
to be disappointed in yourself, and expect the feeling of not living up to what it means to be a knight. But most importantly,
he nailed it. Yeah.
Expect to be frustrated in your path. The one thing I've found as a squire, and I have seen since as a knight, is the squire who gets so wrapped up in the chase that they lose the big picture, and they hit that point where they're so frustrated. They're like, you know what? I'm done. I'm just going to turn my belt back in. I'm not having fun anymore. I'm over it. I'm just going to quit this and go have fun again because I missed the fun. And that is right about the time when you're there. That's what a lot of nights are looking for, to be honest with you. I wish I knew that. I would have gotten frustrated a lot earlier.
So within that frustration, oh, go ahead.
No, that's actually a really great answer, and it does spark for me kind of the same thing. I think that, you know, the expectation as a squire is like, I'm going to be a knight, and you know, I'm prepared for this path, you know, most of my life, and you get on the other side of that, and there's this feeling of like, wow, will I ever truly be worthy? Right. You know, I think that there was part of that I would like to have known a little bit more about that when I was a squire, that the other side of it is still just as hard work, you know, not only in the prowess and whatnot, but also I think the emotional side of that path, you know, wanting to be worthy, not wanting to disappoint anybody. So, yeah, I think there's a little bit of weight with that. Okay. Nice answer, Your Grace.
Oh, thank you.
That was a really great answer. So you were talking about that.
If you don't mind me chiming in real quick, one of the things that I always try to tell people at their vigils is, congratulations, you had fun. Now the real work begins. The work doesn't begin until the belt's around your waist and you realize the weight and the chain of what you have accomplished and also what's expected to you from now on. And you will spend probably the next first 2 or 3 years, if not more, of being a knight, wondering if you are worthy. And it should feel that way. It should never really go away.
Yeah, I agree. But, you know, the station of knight is a very esteemed station. And we are put there by the people, you know, by the crown, obviously, and our peers. But the foundation of the society is our populace. And so when you walk into a room, you're not a knight without the joy of the people, right? So I think that it's very important to always keep that, you know, front and center, who you are seen by and who you're in service to.
Yeah, the old saying, we reign because you believe. We're only knights because you believe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's pretty early.
Yeah. Well, you know, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was just going to move on. Did you have anything else to add? I was just going to move on to the next question.
No, I'm good.
Yep.
All right. So what do you think your biggest hurdle was as an unbelt?
All right. I'll be honest with you. I didn't have representation. My knight skipped out. Well, totally not a appropriate term. Mundane life came up with my knight, and he was not able to travel nearly as much as he wanted to. He just simply wasn't able to be there. So I had to find a workaround. And back when I first started, you know, man, 2 to 4 hours was a great event trip. You know, I was quick. My average event trip from my house to anywhere was 6 to 10 hours. 10 to 12 was a long stretch. Ooh. So to compensate for my night not being available, I would travel all over the place. This is back when there was no Glenavon. It was all Mertier, so it was a lot further, you know, to travel. And I'd get to site, I'd set my gear up or throw my stuff in a cabin, and then I would hang out at Troll. And when nights rolled in at 2 or 3 in the morning, I would introduce myself. How you doing? I'm Camric, not Sir William then, obviously. I noticed, you know, do you have any squires with you? And if they said no, I'm like, well, my knight is Sir Manfred. He's not able to be here this weekend. If you need any assistance, please consider me your handy dandy pocket squire, and I'll be at your service. And I would basically pimp myself out at every event I went to every night, and it worked like a charm. I got to meet so many knights who turned out to be legends, and those who didn't. But I had all these mentors at my fingertips just because I went out of my way to sit there at Troll and go, hey, you need any help? And that was my biggest thing to overcome, was to be a Ronin squire, if you will.
Okay.
So I think prowess and being taken seriously, so way back in the day, we're talking early 80s, right? So early in the 80s, I was doing kendo and whatnot. But when I started in the SCA, I had some really great mentors. But as I traveled and whatnot, I found that, prowess levels changed and I needed to change to that. And I also found that being taken seriously was difficult. Like, I wanted to get training, and trying to get training was really difficult. There was just some folks that just were unwilling. Some folks who just didn't know how. I mean, even armor back in the day was like, I couldn't just, buy off the shelf like I could today. Very different world back then. So yeah, I had to really work on prowess and bring a lot of technique in. I had to seek people that were about my size, my height, my build, that were very successful in the society, and start emulating what they were doing. And I'm not above stealing their tricks. I mean, it was definitely prowess and being taken seriously. Those were probably my biggest hurdles.
Sergio Guzman, actually, I know you off of Facebook.
Sergio.
Everybody always talks about carpet armor, and I've heard lots of stories about carpet armor. Alrighty, let's see. Who is your SCA hero and why?
You first.
Yikes. Gosh, there's a few, right? But I'm going to state the obvious here, guys. It's Sir Trudy. When I was coming up, there was maybe 6 female knights, maybe 8 in all the world, and Trudy was the very first female knight. And she had to go through quite a bit to get authorized to be taken seriously, to eventually be elevated. And I think, even to this day, she's still a staple in the society. She still comes out to Gulf Wars. She still, helps folks. She still teaches. She's still trying to foster the dream. And I think that that's a pretty awesome example. I'm going to go with that one.
Does she sign autographs? Because I definitely want that one.
Does she what?
Does she sign autographs? Because I definitely want that one.
Heckin' yeah, I'm sure she will. But I've had the privilege to develop a friendship with her and be able to work with her at Gulf Wars over the last couple of years, and she's pretty awesome stuff.
All right, your Grace?
SCA heroes, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I got a list a mile long, and the majority of those are not belted. They don't wear hats, and they were the people that trained me when I was coming up. The people who gave me their time and energy to someone who didn't have anything to give back to them. The guy who taught me how to build my first helmet was one of my absolute favorite people, Ariel Ap Griffith. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. I wish he was. I miss him terribly. He taught me what it was like to be a member of the society and help the little guy and be the little guy. So many people in my local shire that wasn't even a shire when I joined it. They had just recently gotten nuked. And they were in the afterglow and still came together and played no matter what. Rohan One Thumb, Uncle Rudy, all those old guys and old ladies. No, I went step in that one. Old crew from back in the day, lords and ladies, who taught me how to play the game properly, to even be recognized by the people above me at the time. But if I was to pick a peer, there was Sir Francois Duvant, who was the epitome of knighthood that you could never achieve. but my all-time favorite is Duke Ellington. He taught me what it was like, what it meant, and how to be a knight. But more importantly, he showed me what it was and how to be a great king, and how to treat the populace, and how to go out of your way to make sure everyone you spoke to felt like they had a personal connection with you at the time. If you've never met him, and I'd be surprised if you hadn't, he's an absolutely amazing mentor. But there's a list a mile long. And the only reason that I stand here today is because I met each and every one of those people. I wouldn't be here otherwise without him.
I don't want to go first anymore.
Well, let's flip it a little bit, and we're gonna go right back to Sir William here. Who is your boogeyman?
Myself.
Yourself. Okay. Getting deep again.
Seriously, there's not an SEA fighter out there that I'm afraid to match against, because I trust the people I fight. I'm not going to get hurt. Okay. I fight in minimal armor, but I trust the people that I cross swords with, even the brand new person. The only person that gets in my head is me. And I'm the only one who can get me out of that situation. And that's it. Coming up, yeah, I had a lot of boogeymen. But now, not so much, because I'm comfortable in my skin, and I'm comfortable where I am, and I've got 30 years of experience behind me. I know I'm not going to get hurt out there unless I do something stupid. And
so you wouldn't say that there's a fighter out there that just has your number every single time and you just can't figure out a way to beat them. And
I hope there is. I hope there is, because how else are you going to get better? How else are you going to get better? Right now, locally, Duke James of Holy cranks my ass 10 ways a Sunday. I can still give him a good run for his money, but right now, he's got my number. He's not my boogeyman. There's a lot of people out there that can whoop my ass, and those are the people that I hunt every time I'm on the field, because that's the only way you get better. But honestly, in my heart of hearts, I'm the only boogeyman out there, and I only affect myself.
That's pretty good. Alrighty, Sir Brealthen, who is your boogeyman?
So, when I was younger and in Trimaris, there was a lot of boogeymen. There was Duke Solomon and Duke Baldar and Duke Martin and Duke and Duke and so like all these all these guys were murderers in armor and in a good way. But I finally put boogeyman behind me because it really is a mental thing. Technique, watching, learning. You're going to give yourself advantages with anybody you fight. But I think as far as, boogeymen, that kind of ended for me when I left Trimaris and I went out to the Outlands. And I was in my late 30s and I was fighting really, really well. And I was fighting differently out there. And it was because I didn't have any peer fear. I didn't know who these people were. So, some hat with a white belt would walk up and we would fight, but I didn't know he was the premier knight of, and Duke such and such of the Outlands. And it really taught me a very valuable lesson that the boogeyman is in your head. And the only way to conquer that is to one, recognize it, and two, to stretch out and to work against it. If you have a particular boogeyman that always has your number, well, he's got a hole or she's got a hole somewhere. So, you're going to have to find that, and you're going to have to watch them, watch their video, watch them on the field, take your notes, get a plan. When you go to face them, work your plan. So that kind of took the whole boogeyman thing out of it for me.
Yep, well said.
Find your boogeyman, and then find your boogeyman's hole.
I knew I was going to regret saying that.
I had to just wait there.
Everyone's got a hole, a couple of them. That's nice.
So John,
thanks for spinning that one, John.
You're welcome.
John, I had a couple of guys that I was training with many years ago, and I used to tell them, if you got a guy out there who scares you, go hunt them. Hunt them down every day. Hunt them down, chase them every event. And when you're done with them, move on. Find the next big bad. Mm-hmm. So there were two gentles in our neck of the woods that I used to travel with all the time, George and Uric, and they used to hound a local knight Sir Angus, and they hunted that man down, and he was just an old southern guy, and he's like, I'm just going to beat you boys rotten. And he did for years. And then one day they just stopped chasing him. And he's like, how come you don't come harass me anymore? He goes, oh, we're done with you. We've moved on to the next guy.
Dang, that's hard. I mean, great though, but yeah.
They showed up at his coronation with T-shirts that said, I taunted Sir Angus and lived.
That's great. Alrighty. So Sir Brealthen, we're going to start with you. Do you think that the path to chivalry has changed? And do you think this is for the better or for worse? And why? And how do you think it's changed?
So, of course the path of chivalry has changed. It's ever changing. The face of the society is not the face of the society when I joined in 85 or 86. Okay. And what I knew of chivalry when I was a squire versus what I know of chivalry as a knight are very two different topics. So I will say honestly that yes, of course, the face of the chivalry has changed. It has to. And it has to because today's younger knights coming in want the society to look like their face, not necessarily ours. And that's okay. That's a good thing. Now, the bad thing is when you forget your legacies and your traditions and you find imbalance. So, yes, the face of the chivalry should change, but you have to temper that with balance to honor what's come before you and honor what the new face of that should look like. There you go.
Hey, can you repeat the question?
Do you think that the path to chivalry has changed? How do you think it's changed? And do you think that it changes for the better or for worse?
Okay, so you're gonna get the old man Camrick version of this.
Tuck in real quick here.
My path of chivalry back in my day, we walked uphill 10 miles both ways. Do I think the path has changed? Yes. Do I think it's changed for the better? Not always. One of the things that I see, well, first of all, one of the things I see that's missing a lot is the drive to follow the path. And I hate to use the term back in my day, but yeah, driving 10, 12 hours, twice a month to go to an event because those are the only available options. Yeah, I did that. A lot of folks don't have that opportunity or just don't have that drive anymore. But more importantly, the thing that really grinds my gears is that the path to chivalry has, in my eyes, a lot of times seem to be more of a status symbol than an actual goal. I see so many people these days scooping up squires or scooping up brand new people and making them squires within 3 months of them being in the society, and never ever discussing what it takes and what the path involves. And a lot of these people also I see that sign on to be squires have no interest in following the path to conclusion and being a knight. So many of them are happy just to ride another knight's coattails. And that chaps my ass. I have an expiration date with squires, and I have high expectations. And if you don't meet them, you need to find a teacher. Personally, in Glenavon, I am frustrated. In our kingdom, if you've been in the society for 3 months and you're not squired by somebody, it's like, what's wrong with you? Are you socially inept? It's become a status symbol. Squirehood has become a status symbol where I live and not a goal to an end. And that frustrates me. That was never the case when I was coming up. In fact, there were no knights when I came up around. If you showed up in the squire belt, you might as well have been a knight. We were terrified of squires back then. And now they're a dime a dozen. You can't go anywhere and find somebody who is not belted. And that really bothers me about the path.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I've known quite a few people who have achieved great feats of prowess, including winning crowns, winning champion titles, and all sorts of things like that. And they're not squired. They have just an AOA, just a lord status, and they've achieved crowns. They've achieved baronial champions. They've achieved king champion tourneys, all sorts of amazing things. And they have no intention, or at least at the time, to be belted to another person. And it's a personal decision, I guess, or it could be they want to become a self-made thing for whatever reason. But I don't, it's very interesting that, it's almost, like you said, it's become kind of a social standard that you immediately become a squire, or I guess in the other peer section, you would become a protege, or you would become an apprentice, the second you hit the society.
I have the greatest respect for somebody who wants to walk their own road and tell another knight, no, I'd like to establish myself, or more importantly, I'd like to meet some other folks before I just jump into this, 5, 7, 10 year plan. But in our area, no one's got a lot of people don't have a plan. They just, you plan on being a knight? No, I've been a knight for 14 years. Do you even fight anymore? No. Why are you going to be a squire if you don't fight?
Right.
True. All righty. So our next question, and who was the last person? Was it Sir William?
Yeah.
When considering a candidate for knighthood, do you consider their age as a factor?
No.
Not at all?
No. As a matter of fact, my second squire, Blake, forgive me if I got your age wrong, but he was in his 40s, and I was much younger than he was.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the drive, if you have the potential, if you're willing to make the sacrifice, and it is a sacrifice to go to events and travel. I mean, look at the price of gas these days. Look at what it takes. An older person in particular who may have a family and other things that keep him or her from making that choice to give up certain things to achieve a goal is honorable and deserves recognition. If, on the other hand, they just want to take a belt to say, oh, I'm squire to Sir so-and-so, then absolutely not. But I don't draw a line at age. As long as you're willing to put in the work, man, I'll belt you. If you get along and if you're willing to put up with me.
Mm-hmm. So what about the opposite side? What if somebody is really young, very new to the SEA, but they're still same commitment, same drive. They're putting their name out there. They're trying their absolute darndest, and they're showing the prowess that would demonstrate as a knight. What do you think?
Then somebody probably scooped them up before I got there. But if they're asking me if they could be my squire, then my first response would be, well, I'll take you on for a man and arms for a year and a day. In that time, we'll see how you fit and match with our household, squires, and the other households that we camp with. You can't just fit in with me. You've got to be able to meld with all the people and all the households that I deal with. And you have to be open to learn. Sometimes young hot bucks and buckettes think they know everything that's going on. And if it's going to be a constant, you're not going to listen, then trust me, I'm not your guy. But if you're willing to listen and you're willing to put in the time, I'm absolutely fine with that as well. Age is not a factor.
Okay. Sir Brealthen?
So the question was, do I consider, I'm sorry.
When considering a candidate for knighthood, do you consider their age as a factor?
No. There's
There you go. You can keep that question on the bottom.
Yeah. There it is. I found my glasses.
Effin's computer crashed and he just had to reboot. We're good to go now.
No, and honestly, I was elevated at 50.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I haven't been elevated that long. I'll be 55 this year. And I think if, my age was definitely a conversation from time to time, because as you age, prowess starts to move the other direction. And I think there was some concern about that. But, in the end, when it comes right down to it, a candidate that is elevated to the chivalry, they make themselves known. It's not just one question that needs to be answered in one meeting. You're being watched all the time on the path. I like to tell my squires, somebody's always watching you, whether you like it or not, or whether you're aware of it or not. Somebody is always watching you, and and so walking the path as a squire, I think some of our squires give up because they reach certain ages, or they never start because they reach certain ages. And I think that's incredibly disappointing, because our sport will support different age groups if you're willing to put in the time and the work, and you're willing to take care of your body. So no, I don't think you should give up because you think you're too old. I certainly didn't. And I'm still on the path every day. So anybody out there listening, don't stop. And don't not start because you think, well, I'm 48. Well, what will I do? Don't do that to yourself. Give it a try. And if you think you're too old to continue doing this and you'll never get elevated, well, it's like His Grace said earlier, at that point where you're just like, throw your hands in the air and you're just like, I'm ready, I'm done, I'm giving up. Well, some nights wait for that and watch for that, because if you're willing to just throw it in the air and give it up, how easily will you give up the path of the white belt when times get tough?
Yep.
Alrighty, we're kind of a little bit past that halfway mark, but we started a little late, so we wanted to keep going a little bit further. But we're going to go ahead and start with some viewer questions, and we got one from Kelly O'Sullivan. What recommendations do you have for getting back into fighting after injuries? So if you guys have had any injuries, whether you're willing to share them or not, what would you recommend?
Hey, Kelly. Absolutely. This is a fantastic question. So longevity in the SCA is a thing. And both His Grace and I have had shoulder surgeries. So I think you're asking how to get back into shape after an injury. Is that what you're asking specifically? Mm-hmm. Okay. So first of all, it depends on the injury. And secondly, take care of the injury. Do not go out there and fight a fighter practice and get stupid and make the injury worse. Heal completely. If it takes you 3 weeks to heal your back for 3 weeks. And you're going to get razzed. Why aren't you in armor? Why aren't you doing the thing? Look, you want longevity on the field? Heal. And then consider physical therapy. I have spent thousands of dollars in physical therapy to stay in our sport. Okay? Because I love what we do and I love the path, and there's a passion for that. But heal first and then plan appropriately. Do you need physical therapy? Should you start with small, muscles versus large muscles? Work your way back into it if you want longevity.
As someone who's only had two serious, one serious and one minor injury in the SCA, Brealthen said, you've got to give yourself time to heal. If it's a serious injury that involves surgery, listen to your doctor, listen to your physical therapist. Above all, God bless America, do your damn physical therapy. Be
Yes,
the
please.
idiot. Be the
And
idiot.
stay in physical therapy. Stay
the
there.
Yes, be the idiot who's early there. Be the idiot who is trying harder. Be the idiot who does the extra work. Be that person. At the same time, do not overdo your physical therapy. It's the quickest way to re-injure yourself. Stick with the plan. Let yourself heal. When you think you are fixed and good, give yourself another 3 months. You got nothing to lose. You can always continue to work your body and not the injured area and keep your physical abilities up, keep your cardio up, run if it's not a knee injury, lift weights if it's something else, ride a bike, swim, do something. Keep your body physically active while you heal. That will keep blood flowing through your system and keep the blood flowing through the injury area and help you heal. You have to heal. I spent a year trying to fight my way through this many years ago through a forearm injury, and I wouldn't let it heal. It took a year and a half to get over it. So after having major rotator cuff and bicep tendon surgery, I'm back in the game. And the only reason I can do that is because I followed my PT and did my work. It's as important as getting out and winning tournaments. You got to do the work.
So actually, when I injured my shoulder throwing hay bales, I pulled my rotator cuff or sprained it or something like that. And I went to my doctor. I think I went to an orthopedic or something like that. And I explained to him that I do medieval combat reenactment. I do armored fighting. And after the what?
Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you. And after the 15 minutes of them ranting and raving, that's so cool. So do you do full armor? After all of that, it was okay. We'll treat it as like a sports injury, and we can work from there. So they have workarounds that they can treat it as like a sports thing and treat you as kind of like an athlete, because it is a sport. You are an athlete to an extent. I mean, I'm not running any marathons, but I do hold a big shield, sometimes a big shield.
Were you actually throwing hay bales?
Oh yeah, I was throwing hay bales.
That makes you an athlete.
Yeah,
you pick one person off the street who can go and throw hay bales like you were probably doing at the time, and put them in a competition of throwing hay bales. Yeah,
it's down, up, or down, knee up, and then chest press. And I cleaned it, and that was the worst thing that I could have done. And right when I cleaned it, my shoulder just went, and yeah, it was bad. So always use your knees when you're lifting hay bales. Yes.
Our game is athletic game. You are an athlete. If you do heavy combat, if you do light combat, you are performing an athletic feat. You are an athlete. You may not get paid for it. Doesn't mean you're not an athlete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they can treat it as a sport thing.
And any of you that are in PT, I took my shield, my helm, and my sword to PT with me. And I said, this is what I'm working with. This is the weight on my neck. This is my shield. This is my sword. This is how I move them. And once I showed them, they started developing exercises for me that were more specific to our sport. So don't be shy to walk in there. I mean, I did ask first, but don't be shy to walk in there with your gear and say, this is how I wear it, and this is what works. And this is the injury I'm trying to rehab so that I can do these specific things. And I stayed in rehab probably 3 weeks longer than I needed to, just because I wanted to make sure my shoulder was ready for fighting. So
smart.
Yeah.
I could just see the news of just like the guy that goes in full plate mail from the parking lot, walks all the way to the thing. He's panting because he's in pain. He's just going in the helmet, and then can we help you, doctor?
Clank, clank, clank.
If you're panting just from the walk into from the parking lot, you probably need more than PT.
Probably. Alrighty. So this one, the next question was specifically for Sir Brealthen. It was, what is the history behind the 100-day Pell Challenge?
Awesome.
I'm actually a part. I'm a part of the 100-day Pell Challenge.
Yeah.
Lady Thora from Artemisia is actually my wife. She's part of the 100-day Pell Challenge. We have to restart our 100-day Pell Challenges because we kind of missed 4 days cleaning my mom's house. So we'll be starting day one, round one, all over again. One of my favorites. Yeah,
I want to hear this too.
Fantastic.
Well, I'd like to give a huge shout out to everybody that's completed the challenge. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. And thank you for your ownership.
Reapers unite. Reapers unite.
That's right. That's right. Reapers unite. So the 100-day Pell Challenge is not new. Obviously, there's a lot of different kingdoms that participate on a yearly basis. I'm a firm believer in foundational practices. So, for example, if you love volleyball, that's your thing, then you're going to go out there and practice 1,000 bumps, right, or 1,000 stirrups. Mm-hmm. And so, for me, the Pell is one of our foundational tools. And I hated it when I was younger, despised it. And it wasn't until Duke Solomon came along that I really started enjoying it, because I started understanding the mechanics of it a lot more, and what my purpose was when I was standing in front of it. So the short story is that I started the 100-day challenge before Gulf Wars, and 7 people joined me. And we finished it, went to Gulf Wars, we came back, and then there was 7 more people, and then 7 more, and then 7 more. And then a community of 2,300 and something. And it went global with all the different martial arts. So HEMA, and I think it's Bohurt, and lightsaber, and archery, and live weapons, and so rapier, and so basically how it all rolled out was there was 8 of us that did the challenge, and then there was people that just kept coming. And so I decided to keep it going. Those first 8 people, I had a patch made for them. I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I called my friend Tiki Algi, and I texted her, and I said, hey, can you do a patch? And she's like, what are you doing up at 2? And I said, what are you doing up? And so next thing I know, we had a patch, and it was kind of a thank you for the first 7 people that did the challenge with me. The patch just happened to have a Reaper on it, and so the community actually named themselves. I did not. But there's a lot to that story, a lot more entailed to that story. But I took it upon myself to start sending these patches out to anybody that could complete the challenge, and then people started helping me to make this thing happen. So the community, and it has become a community, is based on honor and accountability. And I think that that's hugely important, that ownership. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how it rolled out, and here we are 8 years later. So
that's awesome. My squire's a member.
Good. I'm actually really happy to hear that. Yeah. Yep. And the Pell Challenge does have its drawbacks, obviously. You always want to make sure that somebody is not training bad form. But that's part of that ownership, mm-hmm. right? You need to be responsible. And I tell my squires this too. You need to be responsible for, your own training as much as I am responsible for your training, right? But mm-hmm. I actually ask my squires to put on their own squire's belt. I will not place a squire's belt on somebody's waist. I will hand it to you, and you will place it on your waist. And the reason that I do that is because you are taking the ownership and the accountability and the responsibility of the path. It's the same thing with the challenge. You get up every day and you go out and you hit that Pell 100 times. And you do it wrong, that's your accountability. You do it right, that's your accountability. And at the end of the day, at the end of the 100 days, what I'm hoping is that, one, you've created a foundation for yourself of permanent exercise. And the other is you've utilized a truly medieval tool. And, you're owning your path. So.
Brilliant.
It actually helped me diagnose a lot of problems with my wife's flat snaps, and now she has gone from the wonderful woo tell to this weird shoulder cock, shoulder cocking motion of firing her flat snap that throws me off because now when she throws her other shots from that same cocking motion, it looks like she's throwing the flat snap. So now I have something to worry about when I make her mad. So let's see. Howdy from Sir Casimir. How important is art to you related to your kit and persona?
Oh, it's me. Oh my gosh. It's huge. It's huge, right? So during COVID, I realized 3 things that I love about the SCA: fighting, friends, and costuming. Those 3 things, right? So, you know, designing a persona, designing the garb, designing the armor. You know, there are many ways that fighters exhibit the arts and sciences. And I think that is hugely important because we are the Society of Creative Anachronism, right? We are developing a persona. We're developing a history. It's the color and fabric of the dream.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this is the Mr. Jimerson. Yes. How are you, Casimir? It's good to see you. Kaz will know. I have a very particular outlook on this. I am considered, I hate to use it's an old SEA term that not everybody's happy with, the period Nazi. Me.
That guy.
And I didn't start out to be that. I just, I was a stick jock. I was happy to travel and whatnot. But there was a part of my SEA persona that was lacking, that was missing. And I happened to be traveling in England, and I went to the Battle of Hastings, Hastings site. And they had a reenactment group there that were doing a small reenactment of not the Battle of Hastings, but there were, of English, Norman and Saxon, society. And they were putting on a show, horsemen and whatnot. And I was just eating it up because, that's what I was missing. The arts. I could be the prettiest the badass stick jock in the world, but I didn't want to be that. I wanted to be that guy who walked off of a tapestry and could back it up on the field and then teach, how to make yourself look good as well. Hey, maybe even on a budget, who knows? Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there and I'm just taking all of this in, and the show is over and I'm walking around afterwards, and I walk into the local group who's putting it on, and they were a very, and still are, a very respectable and very strict reenactment society of the Norman age. I will not use the name because I don't want to upset anybody, but I sat there and I was listening to them talk, and their head guy was holding court and talking about the day and history and stuff, and I'm just eating it up. And he looks over at me and he goes, "And what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I said, I'm sorry. I hope I'm not, interrupting. I do medieval reenactment back in the States, and I love everything you guys have done. This is the exact point that I want to study. I just want to learn more." And he goes, so what reenactment group are you a part of in the States? And I'm like, "Oh, the SCA." He goes, "Oh." And continue this conversation. Just turn his back on me and continue this conversation.
He didn't take you seriously?
And I'm like, "You son of a bitch." I spent the rest of the day listening to them, walking around, taking pictures of everything that they did, all their period stuff, came home with that and said, "I am going to do a better reenactment than they were portraying that day on the field. And I'm going to teach everybody. And anybody who comes to me will never have my back turned to them if they want to learn and make their persona better and match their kit and do whatever they want to do." And let me tell you, I showed back up there in 2000 for the first big one, they called it, when they had the first giant reenactment of the Battle of Hastings in 2000. And I passed muster in the first go. with no issues whatsoever. And look, let me tell you, that has stuck with me to this day, and I will never turn my back on anybody who wants to learn art and history and about their, the culture and how to make their persona better. And you can do it really inexpensively. You can. It's actually doable. And man, that will stick with me to the end of my days. Don't piss off the camera.
Yeah, and I love some of the. We are actually doing a collage of some of the kits that William and I have put together over the years. And it's really awesome to see those progressions. Like his kits are some of my favorites, that you see, but what is it? SCA armor, that one, I love that. Seeing all the new kits come across.
SCA armor,
yeah, with Dale.
Show your kit page and
and by the way, your kit is spot on.
Yeah. What's that?
So by the way, Kaz, his kit is spot on. He does like a roast thing, like I transitioned to for a while just to experiment with.
Yeah.
Casimir stuff is fantastic.
Oh, I absolutely love it when you see historical kits coming out. Just fantastic to see that. I mean, sport kits are great. I love me some sport kits, but you cannot beat a traditional historical kit on the field. Absolutely love it.
We call them pajama nights here.
Pajama nights.
Your sport kit, you're a pajama night.
Pajama night.
I did a chainmail shirt over a Gambus and I cheated.
That's all I wear is chainmail.
So, alrighty. Do we have any more questions? I think we're all good. I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up with Annora's favorite question that she asks every single time. Ever since we took the show over, we asked this question. How prepared do you think the society has made you for the zombie apocalypse?
It's improved my cardio. I can run faster than a slow zombie.
Not me.
Fast zombies, we're all screwed.
No, this is not 28 days later zombies. Those aren't real zombies.
Slow zombies, I'm good. Other than, learn how to dress an animal and provide it for myself. It's the one thing I'm missing. The rest of it, bring on the zombies. I'm more worried about the people that survive with me than the zombies.
Fair enough. Sir Brealthen?
Well armored and prepared. We're okay here. We would survive the zombie apocalypse, but I'm good.
Zombies can't bite through chainmail.
Double strike.
And double tap, yes. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining us. That's our show for today. A couple of show plugs. Thursday, I really hope these are correct this time. Thursday, February 16th at 6 p.m. is Three Former Fat Guys. Sunday, February 19th at 9 a.m. is Coffee with Cal, learning from LARPers. That seems interesting. Alrighty. Jay Hoffman, Bo Fredo, where are you at? Guzman, Sergio, thank you so much for being in the chat. Thank you, Your Grace, Sir William, and Sir Brealthen. I will start back on my Pell Challenge once again and start posting so that I can get that frickin' Reaper patch once and for all. And thank you so much, everybody. It was wonderful having you guys.
Thank you.
And good night.
Thank you.